Good, good. How are you doing?
Good. And I want to remind folks that we are coming live at you on social media. The video will air on fox26houston.com and the audio will air on 90.1 FM KPFT Houston, Texas, your community station. And of course, I have to do a shout out to KPFT, which is community run and operated. So for our listeners, if you can make a donation in the name of Nuestra Palabra, Latino Writers Heaven to Say, please do so that we can do our part to keep this experiment and freedom of speech going. But the whole message is it's our terms on our terms. So we got to see Matt in person the other day at the Pico Youth and Family Center, Matt. So, hey, great. It was great to see you in person. And then, para que la gente en Tejas no se pongan celosas, y'all going to be in San Antonio for the first Friday reading, Friday, October 7th, 6 p.m. at the Latino bookstore at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. And I do want to tell folks that there's also another special program that day at right before that. So the reading's at 6. From 5 to 6 p.m. is a happy hour, so that's good. But then Edward Viduare will be there to talk about an insider guide to publishing. He wants to tell folks what he was looking for in manuscripts, but also how folks can become translators, typesetters, proofreaders, interns, just to get involved. So I want to get to all of you sharing your readings, but let's do a first round of hellos. Do me a favor to encourage folks to go to that Publishers Insider chat. Tell us a little something that you've learned by publishing with FlowerSong Press. I'm going to say we'll throw it to Matt first because I got to see him in person. I'm still excited about chatting with you, Matt, in person.
Yeah. Well, Tony, to answer your first question about how am I doing, brother, if I was doing any better, my name would be Tony Diaz. So I'm telling you, I'm doing quite well right now. I'm doing quite well. I would say as far as FlowerSong has gone, it's been an incredible experience. You know, I met Edward years and years ago, and for a while people have been asking me for a manuscript. You know, a lot of independent publishers for the most part, and even some even larger ones. But you know, when I met Edward, I got a really great vibe from him, and we kind of just like had a handshake deal. And you know, later on, you know, we formalized it more, but it really has been that kind of place. I mean, it is an independent press, but there's a real honesty. And there's a real transparency in the way that Edward works, and there's a real just a kind of a vibe, a good family vibe there. But it's not. I mean, Edward is very, very ambitious. I mean, he publishes like 20, 30 people a year, and he gets the books basically anywhere across the internet. I mean, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Target, you can get them at BarnesandNoble.com. You get them all across the websites, and that's not something that most independent presses are going to be able to do for you. So that's really, it's extremely professional, but it's also extremely tight knit. So in that way, working with FlowerSong has been just really perfect for me. I mean, he's done everything he needs to do, with the crossing of the T's and the dotting of the I's, but he's also been very flexible and easy for work with. So really, being that I'm in the state of California and I'm very independent minded, he's allowed me to kind of manage my books in ways. He's given me certain freedoms to manage my books in ways I know I would not get with other publishers that are larger, or even publishers that are the same size, and even some that are smaller would be tried to micromanage in ways that Edward really hasn't. So for me, it's been an incredible experience, and I have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect and admiration for Edward.
You know what, too? You're making me think of all the community connections as well, which not every publisher can bring to the table. So we had a chance to go to Tia Chucha, Centro Cultural, and bookstore, and there was a special display for FlowerSong Press. So it's beautiful to see that y'all displayed there. And I love it too because we're building that bridge between Tia Chucha and the Latino bookstore, and let's just keep that going. However, let's throw Texas some love. So Marisol, great to have you on with us. I got to tell people, we're over here by the Cheech. We were at the museum. It's too packed to transmit live from there. It is overrun, okay? But that's a beautiful museum of Chicano art. There's Tejanos in there. So took some pictures by Cesar Martinez's work. But Marisol from San Antonio, really wonderful to have you reading with the FlowerSong Press Familia that day with your new book. Tell people what you've learned from publishing with FlowerSong Press and why they should come to hang out with you on the 7th in your Califas gente.
Yeah. I love that California Tejas like intersection. I lived in around Sacramento for a number of years, but this is my home. San Antonio is my home. I'm super excited that this reading is going to be just right up the street from where I live, like literally just right up the block. So it really feels like a reading for me, like for the neighborhood, right? Like for the community, and a lot of that has been what's important about publishing with FlowerSong as well for me. I was just making some notes as you were asking that question, but I think what really drew me to them is that it's borderlands literature, but it's also like they built like Edward and then David Bowles before him. Like there's a collective feeling that we are building this from the ground up, right? Like this is where those opportunities have not existed to get our work out into the world, or even for some of us, I mean, I would put myself in this category, like to even really think of myself as a writer. Like it's something that I've always done, but I like never felt like I could really claim it until more recently. But so FlowerSong is a collective effort to where those opportunities don't exist, we do it ourselves. Like we create the together the vehicle for sharing our work broadly, like with the world, with the beyond San Antonio, beyond Texas, beyond California, but also for the neighborhood, right? Like it comes back home to the neighborhood, and so yeah, that's really what's and also I think just kind of like what Matt was saying. I mean, this is a press that's run by an author. This is somebody who and really somebody who like we've all in different ways had to do it ourselves, right? We've had to figure out the infrastructure of publishing, like publishing as an industry. Like it's not, a lot of it, like we're not necessarily coming from MFA programs, or we're not necessarily, like we're having to figure this stuff out. But I think with FlowerSong, we're all doing it together. We're all helping each other. It really is like family. It feels to me. It's just a supportive community of artists, like being very generous with each other and helping each other. So that's what I love about it.
That's powerful, but I'll say it the way I say it in my book. Corporate publishing executives are illiterate about our community. You're shouting out the community. Thursday, October 6th, we're going to have a parent tour from parents from Breckenridge Grammar School with their kids. We give them a free tour, some pan dulce, a couple soft drinks to get free books, and another writer from San Antonio, Javier Garza, will be leading a workshop for the children and the parents. So I love that you're shouting out the neighborhood, but making it clear that here are different ways to bring y'all the upper echelon of the intelligentsia of the publisher of the writers to the community. So thank you. That's awesome. And then let's give some more love to Califas. Hey, David's been on the show. David and Matt's been on the show so much they're like co-hosts practically. So, David, great to see you again. I'm excited to get to hang out with you in Tejas. So what have you learned about the publishing world by working with FlowerSong Press?
Well, I've learned, Matt was talking about distribution, and that's huge. So I've been able to get into approximately 33 Barnes and Noble's locations. And that's only been possible because of FlowerSong Press registering with Ingram and using it as a platform to get into stores, making them returnable. So that opens up a lot of windows of distribution. And with that, we can do author signings. We're using their promotional networks to promote us. So that's a great difference. And thanks to the work of Matt and our pressmate Fernando and a few others, we've gotten into City Lights publishing. So that too has established cred for us in the independent publishing market. We've gotten into Chevaliers, we're getting into Romans, we've been into Book Soup. So some of the largest, thanks to Matt, we're in Washington, we're in New York, Word Up Community Bookstore, thanks to our pressmate, Brianna Munoz. And just to say, so thanks to Edward too, I've gotten involved on the back end of FlowerSong. I know that FlowerSong, we're so successful as an independent publisher that we're getting lines. Here in California, there was an event that our pressmates Fernando and Natalie were attending, and we were the only press. It was a congregation of presses giving tips, accepting submissions, guidance on manuscripts, and in the publishing world, we were the only table with a line, they said. We had about 20 people all asking, all saying, we heard FlowerSong is it. FlowerSong is the business. And, a major publisher, not a cult, publisher of many, many fine poets with names much bigger than some of our own, was there, and they did not have a line. So the word is out. FlowerSong is hot. And so I've been editing books for Edward, getting this line, going. So, hopefully we can see many, many more great titles very soon.
I love that. And the other thing I love about our community having access to all this is that y'all are very generous with your brilliance, time, energy. So personally, I would love it if in the future we're celebrating the publication of someone who attends this publishing workshop happy hour and learns about not just what manuscripts to publish, but you mentioned a lot of the behind the scenes, distribution, typesetting, editing. It takes warm bodies for every layer of that. And we know that from the Latino bookstore, but it would be so great to be able to celebrate that extra voice there. So I want to remind folks, you get to meet these folks. It's the first Friday of October, October 7th, 6 p.m. They're going to be flowing, but Edward and the crew are very generous to share this network with you 5 to 6 p.m. And you're invited to come out, learn more. And let's throw Tejas some more love. Last but not least, Leticia, we got to hang out when we teamed up to organize a band book caravan to Austin. I should remind folks that I'm having a great time right now. Let's not forget, and I want to calm everyone's, there's a rumor that the Tejanos, Librotraficantes, are seeking political asylum from Tejas in California. It's very tempting, very, very tempting, but we will be back because there's awesome people. And Leticia, you teamed up with us to help create underground libraries so that our community always has access to those books. You do a lot of work with many groups that get the word out. So, you're with the Austin Bat Cave, you're a writer yourself. What does FlowerSong Press bring to the table? Because you're with a lot of different intersections of cultura.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. And I'm always excited to be with all these wonderful FlowerSong poets. I think, what FlowerSong is doing is, as several of y'all have said, like creating community where we are here to like open the door for each other, right? And just keep the door open. I've never been a part of a press, but this is my first book. So that, there's that, but also I've never been part of a press where everyone was really hands-on, as David said, and like, several other pressmates have been editors. Joe Reyes Boitel was my editor, and very influential because my book is a hybrid of poetry and prose. And so I think, what I would say to folks who are trying to, looking to submit their own work, whether it's to FlowerSong or another independent press, is, you need to look at kind of what kind of care is being done with the editors and the folks that are running the press, because I think that Edward has just this this passion for treating your work with such care and understanding. He really takes the time to like understand what you're trying to do and then helps you get there, right? Helps you kind of make the book the best that it's going to be, and was super patient with me because I think that was something I was concerned about because my book is a weird little, hybrid baby. So yeah, I mean, I think that's always something really helpful. And then also seeing like, his work and other folks, other pressmates, including y'all, you know, like how are you in the community with people, right? Like, are you prioritizing these smaller readings or these pop-up readings or these other kinds of events where you're reaching the people who need your books the most? And I think FlowerSong is doing that. You know what I mean? They're prioritizing, again, that access, which is, as you mentioned, Tony, really important to me in this state, in this space of banning books. And so that's kind of what I think about and what I hope to prioritize when I'm, doing events and stuff like that. So I'm really grateful that FlowerSong aligns with that.
Fantastic. I appreciate you all sharing those insights, and I'm really excited about all of us getting to hang out. So we want to entice folks. So we're going to go in the same order that we just had you introduce yourselves, and we're going to have you read an excerpt. And again, I got to let folks know this is a really special reading because the Latino bookstore is like many of our communities, is in a book desert on the west side, El Mero Hueso de San Antonio. But it's going to be booming. It's going to be booming on our terms because that's what we want. So let's hear some of the beautiful poetry and prose that you can experience in 3 dimensions Friday, October 7th, 6 p.m. I can't believe it's free. It's free at the Latino bookstore located at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. So we are going to start with Marisol. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Matt. We started with Matt. We'll start with Matt because you spoke first, and then we'll go around in the same order we were chatting.
Okay. Well, in the interest of time, I'll just do a real short one. I just want to also say that recently, FlowerSong here in LA, we also did a show at MOLA, the Museum of Latin American Art, and we also did something at the Mexican consulate. So, we're FlowerSong, Flower Strong. We're really doing a lot out here, and I'm really excited to bring this to Texas. Well, we also did UNAM San Antonio, so we're really expanding. But we also do local shows. I mean, just for the community. So, anyways, here's the poem. Sundown, Levittown, Fort Apache, Dirty Harry, John Wayne, Blackface, Minuteman, Moynihan, Gone with the Wind, Breaking Bad. Washington Redskin, Confederate flag, the sword, the dollar, the cannon, the scholar, the cavalry, and the Ivy League history as written by lightning is the rising smoke of burning village. The ways in which victors keep their victims, a frontier thesis notes on the state of Virginia, extraction, expansion, the winning of the West, Lewis and Clark, Smith and Wesson, a circle the wagon with bloodshed and slave sweat, the crack of the whip, the law 3/5, the Crown Republic, King Cotton, intended failures of Reconstruction, the housing covenants that greeted Great Migration, the same to the Mexicans of poor Mexico. So far from evidence, so close to Monroe Doctrine. To Davy Crockett. To prison industrial complex, a war on drugs is a war on our young. Bloody Christmas. Reefer Madness. 15 to life for 4 ounces, East Oakland. West Baltimore. South of La Brea and Oliver North, Plymouth Rock. Jamestown. The Rio Grande. Stolen lives. Stolen land.
Thank you, Matt. Reading from Mowing Leaves of Grass. All right. And next up, there's the San Antonio. She's going to walk down the block. But that's even more reason to hang out with her. Marisol, the airwaves are yours.
All right. Thank you, Tony. I'm going to read it's a pretty short chapter. It probably goes 4 or 5 minutes from early in the book. And Loose at Midnight, this is the book. It's about a lot of stuff. It's a big book. It's about San Antonio politics. It's a love story. It's about mental illness. It's about the nonprofit industrial complex. It's about a lot of stuff. But one of the things that it's also about is sort of this question of what makes stuff happen the way that it happens, and just the mysteriousness of that. And a lot of the ways that I write about that is through, there's a lot of birds that show up in the book, and there's a dog as well. And so this is one of those excerpts. It's from a chapter called Black Sun. Friday, June 4th, 12:14 p.m. The smoke drifting over the highway at the tipping point of spring into summer reminds Citlali of birds. Like that one time she saw a swirl of starlings as she stood on the edge of a cornfield somewhere. Where? Imagine this, the secret logic of a flock of birds in flight, swooping, swerving according to their own inner time signature. Somewhere, someone with the right knowledge must have traced its architecture, plotted it carefully, unwound its inner springs to reveal the mechanism, the rhythm, the organization. It couldn't be random, she had thought at the time, eyes trained to the aerial zigzagging of hundreds of starlings, a protoplasm of birds swelling and contracting in a single body like an ever-changing Rorschach blot, like pointillistic thumbprints smudging the sky. A murmuration. That was the name for it, mentioned in an NPR feature she heard years later about a massive cloud of birds that appeared before sunset in Denmark during spring. A seasonal sky dance halfway across the world. Was there a leader or navigator? Lali had wondered. A conductor who indicated which direction to take. Or were they all followers of one another or something else, attuned somehow to what each other individual was thinking and feeling? Scale-free correlation. The scientists on the radio said, at first, they thought murmurating starlings were like flying avalanches, with each bird a snow particle poised tippy toes at criticality, capable of shifting speeds as a single body. But now, the scientists, particle physicists, knew that starlings were more flying magnets than avalanches, simultaneously shifting not only speed but position. They were electrons, they said, pulled into synchronous orbits under the spell of magnetization. As one bird veered right, it signaled 7 of its neighbors to do the same, who signaled to 7 more and 7 more, a lightning game of telephone without static or degradation. Low signal-to-noise ratio. It was an anti-predator tactic sparked by the peripheral approach of a falcon or hawk, the starlings banding together to form a collective more powerful than any individual could be. But how did that first bird trigger the movement of the whole, if each member of the flock was busy responding to every other member? Was there a first bird to speak of? How did it shift all at once? How did it burst spontaneously into total transformation, as if from nowhere or nothing? Somewhere, someone knew the principle of organization. But not me. I don't have the language to say how it works. I can only watch and marvel. That is what she thought then, watching starlings swoop and pulse as one body as she stood outside a gas station half a lifetime ago, on the edge of a field at the center of the continent. Not the dazzle of synchronized starlings this time, just regular grackles, headed north with an urgency, fleeing something. Lali is distracted, driving to the credit union on a lunch errand, trying to gun it so she can be back at the Centro office for a 1 p.m. conference call with the youth climate funders. So it doesn't occur to her what they might be fleeing until she turns on the radio, NPR again. She hears the report like a premonition before she sees it for herself. Uncanny. The heavy cloud of black smoke blowing over the highway from the southwest, from somewhere near the river. An explosion at the old refinery, says the radio. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Marisol. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and we can't wait to hear you read in person at the Latino bookstore. And you're from San Antonio, so that's wonderful to support the community that way. And I want to remind folks it is free. It is the first Friday, October 7th, and there'll be a special panel on how to get published and the inside track of publishing with the publisher of FlowerSong Press, Edward Viduare. It's totally free, little happy hour at that time. And before we go to David, Marisol, maybe there's some folks in the community watching. Maybe they think, you know what, that bookstore is for the elite, or that bookstore is just for people to have advanced degrees. What would you tell that person who may have some inquietud about showing up or might feel intimidated about showing up that night?
I would say, it's in the heart of the barrio. It's like you said, it's in a book desert. We have our libraries, and this is like, okay, so The only other independent bookstore that I can think of in town is at the Pearl. Okay, so it's at this very high-end, upscale. Not to diss the Pearl, but not to diss the Twig. Although I have a lot to say about the Pearl, but basically, this is a space, the Latino bookstore on the West Side. It's part of Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, very established cultural center, community space that people fought for decades to exist, to provide arts access to the community. That's where this is. That's where this bookstore is, and so it's very much it's very much coming out of a community space with the ethic of this should be for this should be for the people who live here. This should be for gente. This is for our community. This is for there's books in both languages. There's books in multiple languages. There's books for all ages. This is a very important. It's very important to have a bookstore like this, on the West Side.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for touching our hearts and inspiring us. Gracias. And we're going to show California some more love with our friend David. David, why don't you show folks, give them a taste of what they're going to experience in 7 dimensions. Here we just have a couple dimensions at our disposal. Oh, and I'm gonna ask you to bring up your mic.
All right. As I repeat, I've got some of that California love for you. This poem from my collection, My Name Is Romero, FlowerSong Press, is about something near and dear to my heart, which is burritos. This poem is called That's a Rap / Ode to the Burrito. Oh my God, I've got the greatest idea. We'll take the pride of your people, the most significant dish your culture has ever produced, and we'll turn it into a sandwich. No, a salad. No, a hamburger. No. I've got it. We'll throw it all on top of a doughy flour tortilla and just wrap it up. Ah, hell no. The 7th seal was broken, the 7th trumpet was sounded, and from the seas arose a dark and unholy beast, its name carried on fast food menus and neon signs all over the country. The rap, the focus group of food, you were assembled from the rotting carcasses of recipes killed by cultural appropriation. You are a Frankenstein, a monster. And for those travelers who journey throughout Mexico and the Southwest on burros, who invented the burrito, the little donkey, you are truly an ass. Scraps of better food whose quality was sacrificed at the unholy altar of on the go. You are simultaneously warm chicken and cool salad. You are lukewarm. I will spit you out and reject you as they reject us. Those who want to cash in on the popularity of the burrito, but deny Spanish from the menu. Those who love Mexican food, but hate Mexicans. And what have we given to the world? The burrito is a pillow for your mouth. It is a voluptuous breast, a full butt cheek. It is something to get lost in. It is carnitas, carne asada, and not ground beef, with a side of beans and rice, guacamole, please, but no pinche sour cream. The burrito is quite simply an essay on humanity's struggle for greatness. Greatness achieved. It is all the things that a rap is not. Ban raps forever. Burn all images of their name and likeness in effigy. And on that brave new day, you'll find me at El Tepeyac in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, eating a burrito as big as your head. The end.
Okay, man, we're gonna eat. We're gonna feed you right when you get to San Antonio. And I'm not gonna be parochial and shout out Tejas food right now. I'm gonna shout out some California food because right across on the street from Tia Chucha's was Tacos Vampiros, and that was awesome. So, awesome. Gracias, hermano. Appreciate that. And last, but of course not least, because I got to read with her we got to hear her read in Austin at the Underground Library at La Peña Cultural Center right there on Congress. Leticia, great to hang out with you again. So glad you'll be
Yeah.
here in San Antonio, and we'd love for you to give folks just a little bit of what I got to experience in person.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm excited to see y'all in San Antonio and be able to connect in person again. I'm gonna read one poem from my book Las Criaturas. A lot of the stories and poems in this collection are about kind of questioning the perspectives of storytelling and what storytelling means to us, especially what stories are told about women and femme folks, and how we're kind of fighting against those stories. So I'll just read one poem. This is called La Rosa. Don't make me your mother's cautionary tale, and I won't make you mine. When we find each other, accept all that I have to give and take. My thorns can plunge bone deep and twist your heart from your chest, but don't make that our story. I don't have to be the fruit from that elusive garden, the siren calling from the rocks. We can be us two together, no violence involved, as long as you accept my giving and my taking. Natural as the waves washing away and returning what you thought was yours. I can be your dream mujer, but never the waiting one, the crying ghost dressed in white that haunts rivers and crossroads for what she has lost. I will not be tethered. I can settle like sediments on a rock for a time, watch the city from the bus window, let you lead us to the way. Always I will return to my original state of being, folded in on myself to prevent withering, drying out, bunched closed, waiting for the season to open. You will have to time the cycles and hope you get it right. Pull your bleeding hand from my stem and remember what your mother told you about love's furtive flame. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thanks for all that you do to keep Tejas liberated. I want to bring everybody back on screen. We're gonna have you all say goodbye, but first I gotta point out that I'm getting text messages from la gente de Houston thinking we forgot about them. So let me break down where we're at. So right now, the Libre Traficantes are doing a tour through Califas, and again, hey, Matt, it was beautiful to see you in person. Thanks for coming out to the Pico Youth and Family Center, brother.
No, Tony, it was great to be seen, and even better to see you.
that meant a lot that night. And then, of course, we were at the Chuchas. Today, we're at the Cheech, which is at Riverside. And man, we're gonna have a show right after this one. It'll be at it's gonna be at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is I'm losing track. I don't. It's 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is noon. But no, it's 1. I'm going to have our producer tell us what time it's at. But we're going to be talking to 3 Chicanx artists about the exhibit, uniting Chicanx writers, which you are, with Chicanx poets and Chicanx visual arts. And that's, of course, in Riverside. But, of course, we're going to be back at San Antonio with ustedes on October 7th. And we're going to play a PSA. October 3rd, we're going to have a big event at the Alley Theater, Houston, Tejas. So the folks from Houston, stop texting me angry. They're like all mad that we're ignoring them. It's going to be a big show. So I'm going to throw to Roxana, let her cue up the announcement there so folks can get involved with that. Join us October 3rd and celebrate 25 years of changing the world through literature at Nuestra Palabra 2022. Hear from current Texas Poet Laureate Lupe Mendez, playwright Alvaro Sarrios, race and justice reporter Russell Contreras, and many more. Experience full cultural immersion and celebrate the long-held tradition of Danza Azteca. And me, radio host, activist, and author Tony Diaz, El Libro Traficante. I'll be on hand to meet you and sign my latest book, The Tip of the Pyramid. Reserve tickets today at nuestrapalabra.org. So I think we've covered all the cities and states for now. Pero I just want to make one thing clear. I'm hoping that come next year, ustedes tienen una casa aquí en el aire, and wherever we're all at, we should just keep promoting new voices. If we can do one round of goodbyes and maybe one last thought to touch someone's heart. I think someone tuning in is maybe scared to submit their work because they're worried about rejection. What would you say to them? And we'll go backwards this time. We'll start with Leticia.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much all of our wonderful FlowerSong poets for sharing space. I think at the end of the day, if you're questioning whether you should submit something, thinking about who needs your work or who might be able to find your work, not just inspiring, but like if you're writing from a truthful place, whatever that looks like to you, I think that there's always going to be someone out there who recognizes that truth in their own experience. And so I would just say that, think about who needs your truth and how sharing your work could, become a more fulfilling experience to connect with those readers.
I love it. David, what would you add?
I would add to say that that for Edward Viduare, our publisher, publishing is a passion. This is not, his full-time job. He has a full-time job. So this is his passion. So he's the most non-elitist publisher that I've ever run into. And the consideration that he gives a first-time poet is the same that he gives to a multiple poet laureate, or someone with an MFA, or someone with everyone is in the line in the order in which they were accepted. No one is given a special pass or bump or anything like that. So this is the core of people's community poetry. This, Edward has a heart of gold, and the decency is exemplary.
That's beautiful. Marisol?
Yeah, that was me for a long time. I always wrote. I wrote since I was a teenager. I wrote very passionately. I wrote very prolifically, and then I would just put it away somewhere, just file it away. I didn't even know you could do stuff with your work. And then I made little efforts. When I got, I sent it off. I sent off poems and was rejected, and I just was like, well, I guess that's it. I guess I'm just not any good. I mean, I kept writing, but I stopped sharing it. I stopped trying. And that was in my early 20s. So that cost me like 20 years, right? So I think it's very common for people to have that experience if they are serious about writing. But what I wish somebody could have said to me back then was that it's normal. It's normal to be rejected. I really didn't know. I didn't know that. So if you need to hear that, it's normal to be rejected. Keep writing, keep sending your work out, keep sharing it. You're gonna get rejected a lot. Everybody does. It's okay. Just keep doing what you do.
I'm going to pause because I really appreciate you sharing that, because I would have never guessed that. You're so put together, and I'm going to, te voy a tirar unas flores, which, I just remembered. I was in the office of a professor at Lone Star College, Montgomery, and he's got these stacks of books, and he picks up your book, Luce, and he goes, hey, have you heard of this book? It's badass. I'm like, dang, well, of course I've heard of it. So te estoy tirando unas flores because you shared that, and someone watching go through the same thing and they get over it. Let's close out. Matt, close us out. Change the world again.
All right. So what I would tell anyone that's really serious about writing, what you need to do is really study the work of people that you really admire and not really try to copy them. Just pick up things here and there from a variety of different writers, right? But more than that, become a student of your own work. Become a student of your own mind. Look at your own best work. Look at your own odd ways in which you interpret the world that other people don't, and then sharpen those tools and sharpen them and sharpen them and sharpen them. And from that, develop a style. Then turn that style into a discipline. And turn that discipline into a standard of excellence that you hold yourself to every time. And once you develop your own standard of excellence that you hold yourself to every time, you will be excellent in a very unique way. And once you're excellent in a unique way, you become the world's leading expert as to why you are excellent. And once you're the world's leading expert as to why you are excellent, as to why you are great, you will not spend your entire life seeking validation. And no one can discredit you. Because even if the other authors' work is great themselves, they are not the world's leading expert as to why you are great. And once you are that, once you're all those things, you can doggedly pursue your goals. Be unique, be different, and be great. Write about things that are important to not just yourself, but to millions of people. And write well. And if you do that, you'll be one of the greatest writers to ever walk the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. Because that's all writing is.
Man, that's beautiful. And it touches on that self-determination that I ascribe to the Chicano identity, but that's really the power of this literature. Gracias.
And if you Google the best political poet in America, not only was my name the first name that's come up, I have a whole panel. So, who am I to say that? I'm Matt Sedillo, the best political poet in America, proud as hell to be Chicano.
Eso. And you get to hang out with them, San Antonio. On the west side, El Mero Hueso, do not pass this up. This is like graduate school for la gente. Hey, I got to give a shout out to our community culture capital, Roxana Guzman, who is our producer for our multi-platform broadcast, works behind the scenes tirelessly. Thank you, Roxana. Rodrigo Bravo Jr., who is our brilliant sound engineer, especially for the audio broadcast. Liana Lopez and Brian Parras, co-founders of Libre Traficante Caravan. They're actually getting ready for our next show, and they're chiding me because I screwed up the time. So at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we'll be going live with Chicano visual artists, and then the other co-founders, Libre Traficante Caravan, Lara Acosta, and then Lupe Mendez. Thank all of you. Thanks for tuning in, and please support community art. Nos vemos. Y'all were great. Gracias.